right, well, we'd like to welcome you back to another sui generis episode of V8 Radio. How about that?
I am impressed.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused, but I'm Kevin Ostie, joined as always with my esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Q-Ball Clark.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, what the heck was that all about?
I thought you had a conniption real quick or something.
I'm losing it.
Yeah.
Well, we try to oversell this show as much as we can, and it turns out that each opening we have some kind of silly word, and I've been slacking a little bit the past couple episodes. You've been picking up the task of coming up with the overselling adjective. So this time I actually spent 8 seconds and came up with one.
Well, right on.
Yeah. It's sui generis.
Wow, you're really putting the homework in for the show. I appreciate that.
Yes, it's Latin.
And the listeners appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. It's a Latin term, Mike, and it literally means of its own kind.
Ooh, of its own kind.
Yeah.
That's different.
Well, it walks the line there. It's not saying it's good or bad.
It's unique.
That's right. How interesting.
Yes.
Hey, you like my new haircut? Yes, it's sui generis.
Yes. You pay real money for that haircut?
That's right. So, the other traditional thing we do, now we got traditions. You believe that?
Look at that. Well, we've been doing this a while, so
is the trivia question as an attempt to lure our listeners into sticking around longer than they already have. Hopefully.
That's right. It's our attempt at subterfuge.
Right. That's a good word there too.
Oh, dude, dang it! I wasted it.
So, do you have a trivia question prepared?
Indeed, I do. My friend. You've been pretty good to me in the past, coming up with some Pontiac trivia questions and coming up with probably more than our fair share of Pontiacs on Muscle Car of the Week. So I thought I would return the favor and give you a Buick question.
Call that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
nice.
And here we go. In what year did Buick introduce turn signals as standard equipment?
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah. Come on, Buick.
I guess this is no worse than the first year for tilt steering.
Yeah. Yeah. Paybacks, my friend, paybacks.
I'm going to say, because Buick being kind of a slightly higher line car, that it was probably an early adopter of standard equipment, turn signals.
That's fair to say.
Yeah. And I know that, believe it or not, on my 62 Ford, turn signals were standard, reverse lights were not.
Right.
Turn signals, I'm going to say probably the late 40s as standard equipment on a Buick. I'm going to say 1947.
1947.
Yeah.
Says the man in Redbud, Illinois.
That's my guess. I didn't say it was right.
I didn't either.
Nice.
And depending on how it goes, I may or may not tell you it's right later.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got one for you. And I actually had a Pontiac question, and then I thought, you know what? Much like you did to me, which I did to you first, if you got your favorite brand, and if you blow the trivia question, it makes you feel like less of a man about your brand. So I passed on my Pontiac question.
Oh, man.
And I'm moving on to a general, which, in reality could be a Pontiac question. Mm-hmm. So
okay.
In what year was the first American 400 horsepower V8 engine advertised?
Ooh. In what year the first American 400 horsepower engine advertised?
V8.
The first 400 horsepower V8. Oh gosh. Okay, well, we're probably talking about the muscle car era. It would have to be a pretty substantial engine size.
Mm-hmm.
You see how you like how I'm doing that time waster?
That's what you got to do.
I'm learning from the master. I'm just going through it in my head here.
Well, it helps frame context, for your answer.
Exactly. So we're talking muscle car wars. 400 horsepower.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a milestone.
Yeah, definite milestone. I don't suppose you would let me know if this engine surpassed the 1 horsepower per cubic inch level as well, would you?
I'm actually not, because I see what you're trying to do there.
I'm just trying to narrow the field a little bit.
Well, yeah, because if it does, then it's bigger than 400 cubes. Then you can go, I know
sure.
when these were made and blah, blah, blah. But nah, I can't.
All right. Well, I had to try. Okay, what year? I'm going to say 19... 1970. You
got a snake over there or an air leak or something?
Yeah. No, not. You know what? I take that back. It's going to be 19...
Yeah, you better think about that.
1965.
Any idea what it was?
400 horsepower even. It's not a Hemi.
Who said it's not a Hemi? I mean, I'm just asking.
Well, it's not a 426 Hemi because they were 425 horsepower advertised. Right? Unless it's a 392 Hemi. But no, that's modern stuff. I'm sorry.
Well, 392s were. Well, I'm not supposed to be feeding you information. Yeah. I see what you're trying to do here.
I almost had him.
These allergies here got me off my game a bit, I think.
Right. I'll say it's the Chevy 427.
The Chevrolet 427, and you're sticking with 1965 as your year?
Yeah.
That's what you said before?
Yeah, because that 427 mystery motor was, that was a racing motor, right? It wasn't that in 65?
Oh, I don't know.
Or no, well, no, it was actually the 396 in the Z16 Chevelle came out in 65. I'm all over the place on this. I gotta just narrow it down. 65, 427. That's it. Close the books on that.
Final answer.
All
right. Well, that's what I typed into my little notepad here. It was 1965 Chevrolet 427. All right. Well, at least we got the agony out of the way.
Yeah. Well, for us now the rest of the show is
for the listeners.
The listeners' agony is just beginning.
Oh man.
So then,
speaking of agony. You know what I'm going to say?
Oh.
Any update from the machinist on the Mike Q-Ball Clark 60 GTO project?
I called him today, and I got a voicemail. I left him a voicemail. It's going to take me going to his shop and just seeing what's up for me to get any real answers, and possibly making arrangements to take that engine out of there if he really feels he's not going to be able to get it done in a quote timely fashion.
Part of me thinks that so if you recall the movie Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction, they the mulligan, if you will, it's a device used by filmmakers to keep it interesting all the way through. The mulligan is the box, the case that's got the thing in it. And
right.
You don't know what the thing is. And they open the box at the end, and you still don't know what the thing is. Right. And I kind of think, we'll do this VA radio for years, and the mulligan's going to be your Pontiac engine. I'm hoping not.
I'm hoping not, too.
But it's like, we'll be 84 years old and say, hey, so have you heard from the guy? And they outlawed gasoline 40 years ago.
Right. It is turning into a mulligan, isn't it?
Well, hopefully you can pull the reins in and as we discussed last time, feel free to tune in our previous episode for options on what Mike can do.
And feel free to comment.
That's right. All right.
On the V8 Radio Facebook page or the V8radio.com website, anywhere you like.
That's right. Well, we'll leave that alone. So what else is happening? Because, I did all my show prep already. I figured out sui generis, and that's as far as it went.
Right on.
Came out of the gate real strong like an overachiever.
We are knocking it out of the park, Kazansky. Oh, boy. What is happening here? Dude, I tell you what, the weather has just been ridiculous. It's still car heaven out here. Yeah. I'm sure it is by you, too.
Oh, it was like 95 degrees out here today.
Yeah.
I've been driving my 70 Riv a lot, and it was like, hot in the car. Here's a non-AC car.
Non-AC car.
Kelly and I drove the Galaxy over the weekend. That was fun, top down.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I looked at my GTO for a while.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. I walked around and I'm like, oh, someday.
You know where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Well, we just got back from a long week of shooting a whole new season of Muscle Car of the Week.
Sweet.
So that was fun.
I'm sure that was fun. Any little spoilers as to what might be coming around?
A bunch of cars, I can tell you.
Yeah,
that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you helpful?
Well, part of it is it's just such a blur. I mean, and I don't know if we've touched on how we shoot Muscle Car of the Week on previous episodes, but that process, we have to travel to get there. And to maximize the efficiencies, we end up shooting a lot of cars a couple times a year. And we'll give the little, kind of behind the scenes look at how we do this. The Muscle Car of the Week episode, we publish a new one every week. But they're made week by week to a certain degree. So we go out and we shoot all the video of the cars, and we shoot the, we call the stand-ups, where I stand there and try to sound smart, about a particular car. And that's all we shoot. And then the words that go in between, that's what we do every week. So we kind of hit the high points when we're out there and say, for example, last week's car was that 71 Trans Am, the blue Lucerne blue car. And when I was on site, I didn't have to know every detail about the car because we just did 3 or 4 stand-ups saying, here it is and this is that.
Oh, okay.
And then we shoot a ton of footage of it and drive it around and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then I go back and kind of go through the footage and, learn about the particulars of the car and kind of write some notes and do the rest of it. So when we shoot these cars, I write some notes and try to become an expert on 2 or 3 things of each. Sure. I don't have to be the expert on the entire car just because we just don't have time.
Right.
So over the course of basically 4 shooting days, we shot 25 cars. So
holy cow!
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's half the year.
Yeah,
pretty much.
We do it twice a year. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and
that's a busy week.
It is a very busy week, and it's a great thing that we use a very small crew, but they're heavy hitters. Ben, our in-house cameraman and editor, comes out, and then we hire a guy that I used to work with on Hot Rod TV a million years ago. When I left LA, he stayed, and this guy actually does movies and real stuff. But
nice.
He and I are buddies, and it's kind of a twice-a-year reunion where we get to hang out, and he kind of lends his Steadicam abilities and stuff to our little production.
Cool.
We pay him to do it, but it's all equal parts kind of favor and fun. So
right.
And he's great. His name is Evan, and he's a car guy, and he used to shoot Hot Rod and Motor Trend and some motorcycle stuff out there. So he kind of directs the whole operation and tries to help me not really screw up a lot on camera. But as you've seen the outtakes, that happens.
No.
Yeah. Once it happened once.
Once it happened, yeah.
One of the challenges of shooting this show is getting out there. So we pick the cars in advance. The team at the Brothers Collection has given us carte blanche access to the whole deal. So they're very helpful. There's two guys that handle the cars on their end.
Right.
And if you can imagine, so today we're on episode 221 coming out this week. So that means so far it's 110 cars per guy.
And not the same car twice.
Yes, right, to keep a handle on. And that's a daunting task. Plus, it's not a situation where the cars are all sitting in one room and they're all ready to go and, they just got to put gas in them or something. They're in different facilities and things get moved around. And over this past summer, they've been making progress on the museum building, which eventually will open to the public in some capacity. And they moved quite a few cars into that facility, which required, 4 weeks of car hauling to get cars moved. Yeah, and that was transporting them and driving some as well. So they've been just super, super busy. So they can usually tell me, hey, we got this and we got this and this one runs and this one looks pretty nice. And I might go backwards and say, well, I have a photograph of, this orange AAR CUDA or something. And they'll be like, oh yeah, that one's got a dead fuel pump, or that one's out at the restoration shop and, it won't be back or whatever. So once we land on the cars of opportunity, I'll call them, those guys jump into action to make sure that they are going to function. And then my challenge is to make sure that Muscle Car of the Week is not the same show every week. And we've done numerous cars that are similar. For example, AAR CUDA is a great one because most of those cars, they have a good supply of them in the Brothers collection. And generally, the only differences between AAR CUDAs is the color and if they are automatic versus stick. Pretty much everything else is kind of the same on those cars.
Okay, I got you.
Except for perhaps, the story behind it, like who owned it or, did it do something spectacular. Right. So what I try to do is I have a grid and I arrange the cars. It's an online spreadsheet that automatically assigns a color to each cell, and it'll do the vehicle color, and then it'll also do like blue for Chevrolet and brown for Pontiac and pink for Ford or whatever. And I can see, and then the year changes colors, 67, 8, 9, whatever. So in a glance, I can see that I might have two lines of the spreadsheet that are the same color next to each other. That means I got to move them. So that every week it's not the same manufacturer and it's not the same color generally.
Wow.
So I don't think we've done like 2 red cars in a row from multi-makes. And we haven't done 2 Dodge Chargers in a row kind of thing. So
what you're telling me is that you actually put a lot of thought into this show.
Well, the show is rather sui generis, so I try to.
So like this show that you put countless hours into prepping, you probably do even more so for Muscle Car of the Week, is what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, and what you're hearing, though, before you get too high up on the horse there, what you are noticing is that I've been able to automate that process so I don't have to think. The spreadsheet just figures it all out.
Oh, and then that was just too good to pass up. Too good to pass up. I know.
So if we come up with a way to put colors on VA radio episodes, I won't do the brown show twice in a row.
Every show is brown. Oh boy,
that could be a T-shirt for us.
Yeah, there's our show, VA Radio. Every show is brown. Oh boy.
So anyway, we like to.
I digress.
Yes. So not only do we know, kind of the intricacies of color, make, and model when we're out there shooting them, bright colored cars present a challenge because you don't want to, shoot a white car in direct sunlight outside, in the middle of the day kind of thing.
Sure.
And if you got a black car, you don't want to shoot it inside because it might be too reflective or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we have definitely a formula that I let Evan, our camera and director guy, I let him figure that out.
Right on, Evan.
Yeah. Well, he's far smarter than I am at this kind of stuff.
No, that's impossible.
Yeah, believe it or not. So he kind of comes up with how we're gonna strategize all that, and then Ben, our in-house guy, he's just a rocking machine. I mean, he can shoot for days and days and days and days and not get tired or not let on. So he gets the glorious task of shooting all the detail shots of the cars and the walk-arounds and stuff with his gimbal camera and all that kind of jazz. So it's a finely well-oiled machine. And we did have two of them that fell out on site, two cars that dropped out. One lost a fuel pump, so we didn't get to do anything with it. But that car will come back. Another one, interestingly enough, is a... and I don't want to get too far into what it is, but it's a pretty documented Shelby car that at the last minute was discovered to perhaps not be the correct color. And not only does that, look, if you look at your GTO and you look at your trim tag and you say it's supposed to be, gold, and in fact the car's orange or something, there's a discrepancy there. But this one might have had some alteration to the tag too.
Oh.
So the tag matches the color on the car, but
right.
The registry suggests that it should be different. So they put the brakes on that one and said, well, you know what? Before we tell this story, we're going to get to the bottom of it. And knowing those guys, it's going to be corrected next time I see it, with the right color on the car or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they've got cars in paint shops and in restoration shops all over the country at any given time. So.
That would be a pretty interesting tale to tell on the show about the history of that and what happened and how it happened and
yes, and
what it really is.
Unfortunately, I think they might have ended up with that car, and I can't say with any certainty. And when you're dealing with cars at that level, you can't just kind of BS about them because we're talking about significant dollar cars.
Right.
If it's a green Pinto that's supposed to be orange, whatever, who cares? But when and that's part of the pressure and the challenge is to tell the story that's accurate, because somebody might look at one of our videos one day and take that as the legitimate story of the car as they're selling it. And somebody might spend more or less based on that information, right? So I got to try hard to get as much right as I can. And, sometimes, I'm the first guy to admit if I screw up a cubic inch displacement on an engine or a year or something that's easily verifiable,
right?
Kind of to that make or model. But when it comes to the actual story of that particular car, that's when the details really have to matter. Sure. So
yeah, you're putting it out there as part of the record. So you definitely want it to be right.
Yes, we try real hard for that. And we did a story a while back about a Cobra that we shot it the first time and it was red, and we had to go back and finish a shot on it. The car was green all of a sudden, and we told that story, what that was all about in the episode. So that was kind of fun.
That is pretty cool. So before you even get on a plane to go out to Parts Unknown to shoot Muscle Car of the Week, you really don't have much of an idea of what you're going to be shooting until you get there, and then.
No, I do. We have all the cars locked in advance.
Oh, okay.
And I have notes written about every one of them.
All right.
And a lot of times they'll provide VINs of the cars so I can research them.
Okay.
And a lot of these cars have been around for a while. You just don't unearth a Hemi Cuda convertible. So, the VINs of all those cars are known, I believe. So if I research a particular VIN, chances are the story already exists. It's documented somewhere, and I can pull a few notes from that I write a few notes and then go out and shoot the show. It happens, though, that, for example, like I said, we had a couple of cars fall out, and another one was suggested on site. Let's do this one in its place, that kind of thing. So then you got to become, it's like, well, do you guys know anything about this car? And there, we don't have the luxury of time to be able to say, well, give me 3 days to call somebody or look this one up or call a previous owner, because I've done that already too. I've talked to guys who've owned these cars, previously and gotten stories from them.
Cool.
So luckily, one of the cars that got thrown in is kind of a last minute deal, was a 2016 Shelby GT350. So that's the flat plane crank car, the new one. And the nice thing about that is it doesn't have a history, that particular car. It's brand new, and I think this one had 40 miles on it.
Holy shnikes. Really? Wow.
Yeah. So then it's more about, and being modern. That was another ace in the hole, because there's product literature online and, whatever. You can find something to say about a new car. So we shot the stand-ups and the footage, and then it's my mission to find something interesting to say about that car that Road and Track already didn't say, or Motor Trend, or, Ford, to put it into the context of the collection and all the rest of it. So.
I gotcha. We saw a pretty cool picture of Kelly holding the keys to a Daytona or a Superbird.
Yeah. That was a Daytona. Yeah, you did see that.
Yeah, that was righteous.
Kelly came out on this one, and she actually drove a few of them, partially out of necessity and partially because it was just kind of a fun opportunity. The guys that manage the cars are normally the ones behind the wheel. But this go around, they have so much going on that they're like, we kind of need some help. So Kelly came out and actually drove a few of them. She drove that Daytona. She drove an AAR and a couple others. And, it's kind of funny because, we try to do a burnout with each car at the end or kind of somewhere in the show. And there's really no reason for that. But how that all started was in the first few episodes, we got some driving shots, and some of the earliest episodes, we didn't even drive the cars because I didn't know how much latitude we had. These things are irreplaceable cars. And a viewer wrote in and he's like, you could drive them, or, I dare you to do a burnout kind of thing. So I told one of the guys that owns the collection, and I said, hey, did you see that, kind of half joking, did you see that comment we got that some guy's like, you should do burnouts? He's like, yeah, go for it.
Right on.
I said, really? And he's like, no, go ahead. That's what they're for. You're not going to hurt it. And if you do, what are you going to hurt? An old set of tires or a clutch or something. And go for it. I
love that attitude. Love it.
It's a great attitude. So then we're like, all right, well, yeah. So we've done them every single time, basically, except for like maybe one or two that are like way over the top. So Kelly actually did a couple burnout shots, and one is on the burnout scale. It's kind of down towards the bottom, not because of her ability, but because I think it was that Daytona is on a set of like early 90s vintage BFG radial TAs that are as hard as
my head.
Plastic. Yes. So they spin, they don't make any smoke, they don't do anything.
I gotcha.
So it's just kind of a non-dramatic burnout, and that's kind of another funny thing that's happened in the past. Sometimes we shoot the burnout shots at 120 frames per second video.
Oh.
So we can slow it down and make it look dramatic. But sometimes that stops the motion and it looks like the tire isn't spinning very fast.
Okay.
And we had a situation where it was that orange 69 Mustang kind of Trans Am catalog car. It was a race car that they used to develop the over-the-counter Trans Am parts program. And this thing's got to be 600 horsepower. And it did just a hellacious burnout across the parking lot. But we shot it at this high frame rate, and you can't tell.
Really? Oh, no.
Yeah. It looks like the tire's not even spinning. So, and there's all this smoke, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, you guys just ruined the clutch on that. It's like, no. No, that's kind of not what happened.
Oh, the clutch is tip-top.
But sometimes some of these cars are on old tires, and partially you don't want to lean on them real hard because you don't want to blow a tire and hurt the car.
Right. That would be unfortunate.
It would. So another sneak preview. A lot of teasers this time.
Gee
for Muscle Car of the Week fans.
People got to tune in. Get the scoop here.
Yeah. Well, this was a heck of a car. It's a 68 GT500 KR that has like less than 6,000 miles on it.
Oh boy, you got to be kidding me!
And we think it's on its original tires. So they're like, yeah, we're not really going to burn these to the ground. and I just moved the car. I did a little drive with it, and just kind of getting off the brake. It's like, they spun and they left black powder on the ground. Just
oh jeez,
like coal.
Yeah, exactly.
Or organic black.
Yeah, they're trying to go back to the earth from whence they came.
Yes. Yeah. So that car. The clock still worked and everything. I mean, it was
trippy. I love it. What a time capsule that is.
Yeah. So I don't know yet when that episode will come out. So you just got to watch.
And we do. We all watch. And now we have our good Muscle Car of the Week Facebook group. That's pretty cool. A lot of people showing their cars off on that.
That was just kind of a fun thing that, so if you go to the Facebook page, Muscle Car of the Week has a page, and one day this window popped up on Facebook, and it said, you need to start a group that's linked to your page. And I went, I don't know what that's all about. I mean, I certainly know what Facebook groups are, but I thought if somebody has something to say, why don't they just say it on the page? It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me why you'd need both. So I pushed the button and put a picture up and launched the Muscle Car of the Week Facebook group. And we had a couple hundred people sign up pretty quickly. And a friend of ours named Frank, I believe it's pronounced Zukowski. Frank's got a GTO, a blue one. He's a big supporter of the show and is always very kind to us. He posted in the group, hey, thanks for the ad, love the show. And somebody was like, what show? So it was interesting that the Muscle Car of the Week official group is reaching people that have no idea what the show is. So now we're trying to introduce them, back to it so that they know what the deal is there. So,
I gotcha.
Yeah. You can't assume that, just because it's got the name or the logo, somebody knows what it is.
It's a good point. I liked your Minute to Win It video today, too, showing off what you got going in the shop today. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, right. Thank you. That was on the Facebook page again. And we, I know I say this a lot, but there is so much activity going on in the shop right now that it's hard to stay on top of the horse. So again, Ben was shooting and I said, hey, this is going to be kind of chaotic, but let's just kind of take a lap of the mechanic shop and see what's going on. And that Duster that got brought in, that 74, which you used to have, I guess.
Yeah, had a 74.
A 74 Duster.
Had a lot less sheet metal on it than that one did. Oy. It became a natural lightweight.
Nice. Well, this one's a pretty solid car. It's blue and it's got a 340 in it and 4-wheel disc brakes.
Oh, boy.
And a few updates here and there, and the customer it had a V-belt system on it. He wanted a serpentine drive, and it didn't stop very well, so he brought it to us to fix a few things, and we've added a few elements to it. We didn't really touch anything on the outside. And it's on a set of Kragers, a really nice set of Kragers. I mean, it just looks so right on that car. So right now, we have the blue 74 Duster that was in that video today. We also have a blue 73 Duster 340 that's in the metal shop getting metal worked. And we also have a blue 73 Cuda in the shop, also a 340 car. So 340 cars within a year of each other that are all the same color blue.
Sweet. It's Chrysler mania out there. I love it.
Well, it really is. And Kelly's over there driving a Dodge Daytona. And you know what? I don't even know what's happening over here. But finally, we're getting some some strong Mopars in the shop, which
is good.
That Cuda is a very nice car. It's again, it's blue with a blue interior and a white vinyl top, and the outside's been very well detailed, but underhood was still kind of original and kind of greasy. So it came to our shop to have the engine pulled, degreased, detail the bay. Something you're familiar with,
I am.
You know, that
yes,
kind
I
of
am. If
thing.
you need any tips about that, I got them.
Right? How to mask stuff up.
Tinfoil, Kevin. Tinfoil.
Yes. Well, it's a great tip,
totally
you know,
is.
and the difference in the Mopar world is the underhood engine bay is all body color.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So your GTO is black. This one, so not only is it's a little extra complexity because you got to get good coverage. I mean, they had nice paint on the inside, and it's got to match too. And I have no idea when the outside of the car was painted, so we have to blend.
Oh, sure.
Get some paint match action going on. So, but that's pretty cool. And then we're going to regasket the motor and detail that and repaint it and everything. And yeah,
should be nicely clean. Good clean runner. I like it.
Yeah, and then the Oldsmobile that we showcased with the we showed the exhaust system coming together, which is I thought was pretty neat. You know,
that was neat. How you got that pipe right after the H, kind of bending up a little bit to hug the floor to give you some extra ground clearance.
I didn't know how well that came across in the video.
I could tell what he was talking about, and when you got that side shot, you could kind of see it.
Yeah, it's slick. So that's John Moss, our fabricator, one of them, and John worked with us 4.5 years ago and left the shop and came back a few months ago. Right so on. It's good to have him back. He's a good guy, very talented fabricator, as you could see by his work on that exhaust system.
Was pretty.
Yeah, and it's all TIG welded up now and finished, and neat stuff. And you know, most people don't think the way he does. They think, oh, it's an exhaust pipe. It's going to go, you know, it might bend left or right, but they don't think about the three-dimensional bends unless it's going over the axle or something. Right. So, and I've been hesitant about showing very much of that particular car because it is a beautiful 66 442. It's dark green with a black vinyl top. It's got a white headliner.
Really?
From the factory. Ooh, yeah, it's sweet.
It is sweet.
And then we put an LS3 in it, which is going to make a lot of people really upset.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it is.
Well, but actually the owner put the LS in it and just didn't finish the job. Gotcha. He's not as flexible as he once was, so he's like, look, I got the hard part done. You guys just connect the dots and finish it off. But I told him, I said, are you sure about this? Because this is, you know, it's a one-owner family 66 442, you know, Olds 400, 4-speed car. And he's like, look, this car, it's been in my family for 50 years, and it's leaked all 50 of those years, being an Olds V8. And he said, and I want to go fast. So he said, so that's why we're doing this. And he goes, don't worry, you know, I got the Olds 400 on the stand, and I got the 4-speed. He said, I got the original shift handle. He goes, I got every single part that's ever come off this car. So I'll go drive it around and go fast. And if I don't like it, or somebody wants to restore it, or my kids or whatever, they can put it all right
and
back.
Leak all over town.
I told him there is a way to get an Olds V8 to not leak. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure
there's got to be a way.
Yeah, well, any old V8, you know. So he's now, you know, getting ready to get that thing back. And we counted today because our mission, again, was to do an undoable engine swap. So Trevor was telling me, because he was doing all the wiring and the ECM and all that jazz, we think we've drilled 4 holes in the car. And that's the extent of our...
I think that's acceptable.
Our footprint. I think so. Yeah.
And the fact that he still has the original 400 and the original 4-speed, and he has it saved, I think that can really squash a lot of arguments as to the LS swap. I mean, it's all undoable, like you said.
Right. Yeah, it's got a bolt-in Curry 9-inch rear end. He's got the original. He's got the He put a whole set of Global West control arms on it and put the originals in a box.
That is going to be a runner.
Yeah, Willwood brakes with a Hydra Boost, a Hydrotech unit on it. So it's going to be a heck of a car. Looking real forward to driving it and getting it sorted out. Probably won't need much, but it's
think
cool.
Maybe we'll get a feature video out of that?
I would love to, but again, I got to get that message out there like right away that this is an LS swap, but we have all the stuff. Because it is such an incendiary topic these days.
It can be.
And I don't need the negative energy coming in. You'll have equal amount of people that say, that's awesome, and you guys do great work, and, it's a logical choice. And then you'll have the olds guy, and I don't blame them. The olds guys will be like, you ruined the car. And honestly, I think that a lot of the people that say you've ruined the car maybe don't have firsthand experience about what something like this is like to drive.
That's a good point.
But at the same time, it's a numbers matching, 442 that's really nice. So I probably wouldn't have made that choice in the beginning to go with an LS.
I could see the you've ruined the car argument having some validity if he just got rid of the original numbers matching driveline. If he pulled it and said, I'm going to sell this to finance my LS swap, that's a little... Right, it's a little touchy right there. You're gonna ruffle some feathers, but
that I wouldn't support.
But he did it right. He did the right thing. He saved all that valuable stuff, and I'm an original engine, a correct engine kind of guy. I like to see that, but I'm not gonna poo-poo on someone for doing what they want with the car. And this guy, I mean, I don't have any really big problems with the direction he's taking this thing.
Well, it's because it's not a Pontiac.
Well, even if it was, I would like to see if it were a GTO, I would like to see a real Pontiac engine in there. I mean, and there's...
All right, so let's turn the tables a little bit and say this guy comes home with a 67 GTO, numbers matching, 4-speed car, and he yanks the Pontiac engine out to put an LS. You would be completely out of your shorts.
If it was an original engine and he got rid of it, I would be.
Well, again, not getting rid of it.
Here's the thing, too.
Making the change.
Here's the thing, too. You want to drive your car. If it were going to be a show queen and be trailered, then there would be no reason to do a swap at all. But if you want to drive it,
this one was close.
Was it really? Ugh.
Yeah, it is super nice.
But if you want to drive it around and not worry about, say you got an original Ram Air 4 engine in there, and you want to drive it, number one, a Ram Air 4 is not going to be super friendly on the streets. With the rear gear and the high lift cam. If you can drive your car around and have it be street friendly by putting an LS in there, but keeping the original stuff for the value's sake, you know what? It's not a horrible decision in my opinion.
No, and again, we've done both in all directions, and it's like the driving experience that these LS platforms provide, when properly done, because we've certainly seen our share of people that take a junkyard 5.3 and throw it in a car and don't do anything about gears or suspension or tuning. And they're just as miserable as, the 307.
Right, because nothing matches up.
Whatever.
And it sucks,
Right. But when you get it right, so 2 examples, we just published a video series on that 71 C10 pickup truck.
That was my next topic of conversation.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, so that truck is right as rain, man. It's a Chevy and the LS guys don't seem to care about that, and a 71 350 was kind of a pooch. Sure. And his actually was not a numbers matching truck, and the value of a C10 is certainly substantial, but it's not like a Ram Air 4 GTO.
Right.
So his whole deal was, he said, look, I have an 08 or 09 Silverado, and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to drive this black truck every day. He said, I have a Harley and I got this truck, and that's it. So it's got to be right.
Awesome.
So, it's totally cool. So we said, we're totally up for it. So The mechanical team went to town on it, and Trevor and Tyler did the vast majority of the work. Our paint department did a few updates that were not featured in the story on the video series, just because it didn't really blend a whole well. But this guy, obviously, like I said, he's a Harley fan as well, and kind of his version was he kind of wanted an earlier Chevy version of the Harley Davidson pickup truck. So he asked us to letter the tailgate letters in orange.
Oh, right on.
And do a couple of orange details, and I don't know how much I can get into telling people that we're building a Harley truck, without the Harley people calling me or something. So we didn't really get into that. They like to profit on their stuff, and they like other people not to profit on their stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty funny about that.
Yeah, so that thing, got it all together, and engine trans, the gauges, cooling system, interfaced it with the stock AC system, got all that working. And I think he's got over 5,000 miles on it.
Nice.
Now. He has driven it like crazy.
Yes.
And loves it. Yeah, and the only other thing that we ended up doing, and unfortunately it happened last week while we were shooting Muscle Car of the Week, is we did a wheel, tire, and brake upgrade, because he's like, I need this thing to stop better because it goes fast. So we did just basically new calipers on the original style front disc brakes. We added a rear disc brake setup that used GM parts, and a Hydro Boost.
Sweet.
Again. And he called me today, and he said, look, he goes, I got to thank you for steering me into this Hydro Boost thing. Because when he asked, I said, well, what's the goal? You want to stop better, or do you want the wheels to look nice? Is this an appearance thing, or is it a performance thing? And he's like, well, I really need to stop better. And I said, well, then leave all your brake hardware and just put a Hydro Boost on it, and it's going to stop a million times better. And he's like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm putting new calipers on, and I want to put different wheels on it. And I said, I just want you to know that you don't need to do that, because the Hydro stops everything. And he's like, well, and he couldn't get it through his head that, he's thinking everybody thinks brakes are at the four corners, and really the brakes are under the hood. So he called me and he's like, oh, I got to thank you for telling me about that Hydro Boost system. He said, I don't care what it would have cost. The way that thing stops is phenomenal.
Nice.
So now he's got awesome acceleration, far more than the tire will handle. He's got the overdrive transmission. He's got the fuel injection that starts every morning. He has awesome brakes, and he's getting 23 or 24.
Get out of here.
Yeah. All summer with the AC on and the stereo crank.
That's amazing.
And it is truly his daily driver, for real.
Oh, you have no idea how happy that makes me. I mean, I wish I had a sweet old daily driver, except this big gold paperweight that's behind me.
You'll get there.
Yeah, it will. It will get there. It will get there. It's taking a little longer than anticipated, but it'll get there, and that's fine.
And the other neat one in LS land, because we do so much of it.
Right.
We finished up that '69 Corvette Roadster.
Oh yeah.
And the Roadster was originally a small block 4-speed car, and the original engine was long gone. It's a '69. That's a valuable car. I mean, those are
cool
hot
cars.
items.
Yeah.
And the owner's like, no, I want an LS in a 6-speed. And, we said, okay. And, the first thought is, well, these are Corvette parts, an LS3 is a Corvette engine, and a T56 was a Corvette transmission. Why not? Finally, it makes sense.
Yes.
Full
speed ahead.
And then we kind of got into it, and, we were discussing the project. And as you know, when you get into the later model Corvettes, you sit in those cars, like all the way in the car. And when you reach for that shifter, it's almost at like eye level, because the seats are so low.
Yeah,
and
right.
The tunnel is so high, because those transmissions are so big. And for us to get the 6-speed in the '69 car, the engine fit no problem. The LS dropped right in to a certain extent. But we had to make a trans tunnel, and the cross member does not come out of that car. It's welded in. It's one thing. So we had to cut that out and make a new one and support the transmission properly, and then make it feel like you were sitting in the car and not reaching up to get the shifter.
Yeah.
So it wasn't without its challenges either. We had a sensor go bad right towards the end of delivery, while we were driving it around, and just because sensors are kind of the cheapestly made thing of all these systems, Holley doesn't make the sensors that are in the car, and GM doesn't make them either. They're sourced by some third party company.
Right.
So as we do our drivability and tuning, we make sure all that stuff works right. But the customer came in to our shop to pick the car up, and this is it's the LS3 485 horse rating car, which that engine actually makes more power than, it's probably right on 500 with the 6-speed. And Trevor took him around the block and showed him, what was what, and he jumped in it and drove 1,000 miles to Minnesota.
Wow, that day?
That was his first drive.
Right on.
Thanks a lot, guys, and
off he goes.
Off he goes, and we had this whole car apart, and he sent us a message. Hey, made it, no problem. It's a little loud, but other than that, I'm great. So,
nice.
Yeah. So that kind of reliability can be had, with these modern engines, because again, all the sealing surfaces are O-ringed, and
right.
You don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Just better design and more precise tolerances and all that good stuff that helps.
Yeah, and that Corvette is now the header image on our website, on the VATV show website. And if you think about it, this, like I said, give or take 500 horsepower LS3 with a 6-speed manual, and that car's got a 410 gear in it, and
wow.
It weighs nothing. And it was like, even with the 410, it was about 2150 on the highway RPM in 6th gear.
Yeah, you got the overdrive.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's still getting killer mileage, and oh my gosh, does it get there
quickly?
Yeah, that thing is a rocket.
410s, holy shnikes! That's got some bite.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
well,
goodness.
and again, the good thing was it kind of didn't have bite. The tires let go.
Yeah.
But you could spin the tires in almost every gear on that thing if you wanted to.
Holy cow.
And then you open the hood and it had the red Corvette. It was a red car with the red Corvette LS3 engine covers and everything. And it just looked like it belonged. And in fact, you have a car like that, everywhere you go becomes a mini car show. And I was getting lunch at a restaurant, and there's some dude working on the building, and he's like, "Hey, can you pop the hood on that?" And I said, "Sure." And I opened the hood, and he's like, "Wow, that's really sweet." He had no idea that it was a modern engine,
right?
Because not that we made it look vintage, but just
you made it
the
look
whole
right.
package. Yeah, the whole package was clean, and a '69 Corvette is still a very contemporary design. So he thought it was like maybe something from the '90s,
Oh my goodness.
And he goes, "Yeah, I got a 67 427 car at home." And I'm like, "Well, this is 69. And he's like, "You're kidding me." He was so enthralled by the engine, he just didn't register. So
right. Oh, that's pretty slick, man. I'm still an original engine guy, but that's okay. But I definitely see the upside of an LS swap in a vintage car. It cures a lot of ills.
Yeah, it does. But, you could take your Pontiac 400 and put a throttle fuel injection system on it and have the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
so
true.
That's what we tell people also. We do a lot of that also.
Yeah, a long time ago, I don't know if we talked about this on the show before. A friend of mine entered my car to be on that show on Velocity Garage Club.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, and it made like the final 30 submissions, and they needed 16
right on
for that year's episodes. And the host, Joe Zolper, came out and he looked at the car, and pretty much all it needed was an engine. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything else in the car is pretty much done. And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, we really need more than just an engine to do on this thing."
Really, they couldn't throw 10 more things at it?
Well, he did say, we could probably just blow the whole car apart and make it look like it's been sitting like this forever. I'm like, I'd be okay with that. And
this is on their dime, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess. And then he also, because at that point none of the machine work was done on the car, on the engine. And he's like, "God, that would blow the budget. It was just we need more, but doing an engine rebuild would pretty much eat up the whole budget we have, which is like $5,000." And he's like, would you be up for like an LS swap in there? I'm like, Yeah, no, sorry, I can't.
And that's when you quickly just backed yourself out of the whole thing.
Yeah, like I can't. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
And he was excited because they hadn't done a GTO on that show before, but he just got through looking at a 64 GTO, and wouldn't you know it, that's the one they ended up using.
They put an LS in it?
No, but it didn't need it. It didn't need an engine. It needed everything else.
Well, and this is what I tell people there. Would you want a $5,000 LS swap?
Probably not.
On that type of show, which is a churn and burn kind of thing. It probably wouldn't. You'd be redoing it. It'd still be a part now. 2 years later, you'd still be going through details on it. So that was the right decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That hurt. The prospect of having the car back on the road was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
But
then you'd have to go to your local GTO club meeting with the hood down.
Yeah, I had that in my head. I'm like, I had to answer to a few people about that.
Yeah, you sell out.
Yeah. Yes!
I see how you are.
Exactly. It's like, you're not in the club anymore, man. Like, come on, guys. I just wanted to drive my car.
The Chevy Club meets Thursdays.
Exactly. Exactly. You're dead to us now, Chevy boy.
I bet.
Good Lord.
All right. Well, the suspense is killing me here, really, about what year did Buick put turn signals as standard equipment.
Is it killing you, Kev?
It's hurting. I'm hurting.
All right. I asked, what year did Buick put turn signals as standard equipment in their cars? And Kevin said 1947. And in the grand scheme of things, you're not that far off. It was 1939.
Oh, wow. So if you take World War II out of that.
Yeah, exactly, because they didn't produce cars from 40 to 44.
Only off by a couple of years.
Yeah, so I guess you're pretty much right on. So congratulations, you win. That's like Common Core math you used right there. That's new math.
I did. Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Wow. All right, I get the big L. So the question I lofted your way was, what was the first year of the American V8 advertised at 400 horsepower? And I guess kind of a bonus would have been, what was it? And you guessed the 1965 Chevrolet 427.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is not the correct answer.
Probably for many reasons.
Well, and if you kind of get into it, the 63 Galaxy 427 was rated at 425, so that was ahead of that. And 63 Dodge 410 cars, 426 wedge cars made 410 horsepower.
Right.
Believe it or not, 1958 Mercury Super Marauder.
What?
430 cubic inch dual quad 10 1/4 to 1.
Wow.
400 horsepower engine. That was a super trick piece. It was an MEL Mercury Edsel Lincoln platform engine, and it was the first year for it. And they made it available in all the Mercuries basically that year. So there are wagons out there with the Super Marauder, and there's convertibles and turnpike cruisers and really cool stuff. And if you get bored and you jump on eBay, you type in Mercury Super Marauder, it had a cast air cleaner over the 3.2 barrels.
Oh,
and
cool.
I said dual quads before. It was a 3.2 barrel setup. And this cast air cleaner today is selling for about $6,500.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, a trick engine for an even tricker question. God dang it. Nice. Here I am. Oh, it's got to be the muscle car era. Doofus.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, great logic, and we don't think that, 50s cars made that kind of power, but a handful of them did, and that's why we have muscle cars today, because somebody had to do it first.
That's true. The big cars had big power.
I wouldn't call a 58 Mercury a muscle car.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, it doesn't really fit the genre. It's not a midsize, right?
But a big, fast sled, man.
Big, fast car. Yeah, I definitely call it a big, fast car. Just not a muscle car.
Right on.
Right on.
All right, man. Well, this has been fun.
Totally. Totally.
We managed to jam another hour or so in of non-prepped material.
Yeah, right? How do we do this? We're just naturals at this, I guess.
Yeah.
Sponsors
don't have to answer
sponsors will be beating a path to our door pretty soon when they hear all this good stuff.
Yeah, companies that make mute buttons.
Yeah. Yes. Whatever it takes. Nice.
2 of them. Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, it's been fun, and thanks for the time. And next time, I promise I will do some additional prep and make it that much more interesting.
Right on.
But you get the word, because sui generis was kind of a stretch for me.
It was a stretch to hear.
Yeah, I bet. All right. Well, you can listen to V8 Radio on our website at v8radio.com, the TuneIn Radio app, iTunes, Google Play, or the Stitcher app, which is kind of cool. They've picked us up, which is nice, and that allows you to kind of subscribe, and the Stitcher app will let you know, kind of like iTunes, when the next podcast is available, and you can listen to it right on your phone or device or whatnot. You can leave comments on our website or our Facebook page for V8 Radio if you take issue with any of this nonsense that we have spewed for the past hour, or any of the other episodes. And if you're new to the show, we welcome you to go back and listen to some of the previous ones, because we're running out of world's problems to solve, because they've all been solved on previous shows.
Right on.
All right, well, we'll see you next time, and keep the shiny side up.